On a bright day in a large church, Vivien stood before the altar, her smile betraying a quiver of apprehension. The officiant's clear voice echoed as he asked, "Do you accept this man as your husband, to stand together in hardship and joy for as long as you both shall live?" With a steady nod and a soft, "I do," Vivien's heart was sealed to Andrew's. Their journey had begun a year earlier when, after a brief yet profound courtship, Andrew had proposed, and they now celebrated a love that promised forever. Following the ceremony, the newlyweds left the church in a flurry of cheers and well wishes. They journeyed to the Anderson family ranch for the reception, where childhood friends and longtime neighbors gathered. Memories of high school days and shared dreams filled the air, making the celebration seem like a culmination of lifelong promises. Yet beneath the surface of the festivities, an undercurrent of tension and unspoken doubts stirred. That very evening, under a sky punctured by stars, Andrew led Vivien to a secluded glass cottage on the ranch. The shimmering structure, set amid lush bamboo and blooming roses, promised privacy and romance. Inside, after sharing tender kisses and whispered vows, passion took over. Their wedding night was an intense blend of desire and vulnerability. At first, gentle caresses and soft kisses created an illusion of intimacy, but as the night progressed, Andrew's approach became more aggressive. What began as a promise of closeness turned into a harsh encounter, one that left Vivien reeling from both pleasure and unexpected pain. When morning arrived, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Andrew's demeanor had cooled, and without warning, he declared that the previous night, along with every promise made, was a sham. "Forget everything," he ordered, dismissing their union as nothing more than an elaborate ruse. His tone was icy as he mounted his horse and rode away, leaving Vivien alone amid the remnants of a night that should have heralded a new beginning. In the days that followed, Vivien's world crumbled. Accusations began to swirl through the town, whispers that she was no longer pure, that her honor had been compromised on her wedding night. The very institution of marriage, once a symbol of hope and trust, now felt like a betrayal. Desperate for answers, Vivien sought Andrew wherever she could, but he remained elusive, his words as cold as the distance between them. Determined to uncover the truth, Vivien drove to the Anderson mansion, pounding on its grand door until her cries for explanation filled the silent halls. Inside, however, no one would answer. Hours passed as the storm outside mirrored the tempest in her heart. By late afternoon, the once familiar home felt eerie and unwelcoming. The sound of a car engine and the distant glimpse of Andrew only deepened her despair. He was there, but offering nothing but the cold indifference of a stranger. Back home, the damage extended beyond her personal grief. Vivien's family was plunged into turmoil. Rumors about her lost virginity and alleged infidelity with a man named Daniel began to circulate, casting long shadows over her reputation. At the local public school where she taught, colleagues whispered behind her back, questioning how she could return to work after such disgrace. The scandal also bled into her family's life. Her father, already embroiled in a tight gubernatorial race against the influential Eddie Anderson, was forced to confront public humiliation. The added weight of the scandal was too much. Soon after, Vivien's father suffered a heart attack. When she rushed to the hospital, the devastating news came. He had passed away, leaving a void not only in her heart, but also in the family's political and emotional future. In the wake of her father's death, Vivien's brother Paul emerged as both a protector and an avenger. Burning with anger at the injustice and public humiliation thrust upon their family, Paul was determined to confront Andrew. One day, outside the gates of the Anderson mansion, Paul's fury boiled over. Shouting accusations at Andrew and his entourage, he demanded accountability for the lies and betrayal that had ruined their lives. The confrontation escalated rapidly. A physical struggle broke out as Paul attempted to assault Andrew. Security intervened, and amidst the chaos, harsh words were exchanged. Andrew's father, Eddie, interjected with cold authority, blaming Paul and his family for the scandal and reminding them that politics was a ruthless game. His threats and accusations only deepened the wounds, as Paul's rage clashed with Eddie's calculated ambition. Amid this whirlwind of public disgrace, personal heartbreak, and familial strife, Vivien discovered another life-altering truth. She was pregnant. The revelation, made in the quiet solitude of her home, was both a blessing and a curse. The child conceived on that fateful wedding night now represented a future intertwined with Andrew, a future that she neither fully desired nor completely feared. Initially, the thought of bringing a child into such a maelstrom of scandal and broken promises overwhelmed her. In a private clinic far from prying eyes, she nearly ended the pregnancy. But a tender ultrasound moment, a rapid thump of a healthy heartbeat, stirred a new resolve in her. The baby was a living testament to her own strength and capacity for love. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, Vivien decided to keep the child, determined to protect this spark of life even as her world seemed to burn around her. As months passed, the sting of Andrew's betrayal remained, but new forces began to shape both their lives. Andrew, too, was caught in a labyrinth of family obligations and manipulation. It slowly emerged that his abrupt departure was not entirely his own doing. Under the oppressive pressure of his father Eddie, a man whose ambition knew no bounds, Andrew had been forced to distance himself from Vivien. Eddie had even orchestrated a lie, claiming that Vivien's lack of purity was the reason for the separation. Andrew's own confession came later, through whispered admissions that he had been manipulated into abandoning the woman he truly loved. His heart, conflicted and burdened, was now torn between duty to a family steeped in political power and the genuine affection that still burned for Vivien. Seeking a fresh start, Vivien and her family eventually moved to a quiet housing development far from the judgmental eyes of their old neighborhood. The new environment brought with it a cautious hope and the promise of anonymity. It was here that Vivien began to slowly rebuild her life and heal her wounded spirit. In her new community, she encountered unexpected kindness and even a few surprises. One day, while organizing the latest delivery for the small family-run shoe business, she noticed a moving truck unloading next door. A curious incident ensued when a curly-haired woman in pajamas clutched a shoebox so tightly that it led to a minor scuffle with the driver. The woman, who introduced herself as Dolores, soon revealed more than just a penchant for pretty shoes. In a moment of vulnerability, Dolores confessed that her own home was haunted by a ghost, by an angry man, and by the shadow of an abusive past. Later, as Vivien watered her garden, a commotion by the fence drew her attention. Dolores, teetering precariously atop the high barrier between their properties, was in peril. Rushing to her aid, Vivien's concern was met by a surprising twist. When Andrew arrived on the scene with a nurse in tow, Dolores was introduced not merely as a neighbor, but as Andrew's biological mother. Andrew's revelation stunned Vivien. He explained, with tears in his eyes, that his father had hidden his mother away in a mental institution for years, claiming she was dead. When Andrew discovered the truth after high school, he fought to rescue her, even if it meant betraying the manipulative demands of his own father. His confession laid bare the painful conditions under which he had been forced to separate from Vivien and the immense personal cost it had entailed. In the wake of these revelations, the bitterness between Andrew and Vivien began to thaw. Despite the raw wounds of betrayal, their shared history, and the life growing within Vivien, opened the door to forgiveness. Over time, Andrew made earnest efforts to show his remorse and commitment. He would bring fresh fruit, join her for quiet walks, and, in small yet significant gestures, tried to mend the chasm that had once seemed insurmountable. Vivien's mother, ever the voice of reason, urged her daughter to reconsider her harsh judgments. "He hurt you." "Yes," she said softly, "but sometimes life forces us into impossible choices. He's a good man who still stands by his mother, despite everything." Slowly, Vivien found herself wavering between lingering pain and the hopeful possibility of a new beginning. One tender afternoon, as she and Andrew revisited memories of better days, Vivien opened a small box to reveal a pair of tiny pink baby shoes, symbols of the future that awaited them. Overwhelmed by the significance of the moment, both broke down in tears. In that quiet, emotional exchange, Vivien forgave Andrew, accepting that while the scars of the past might never fully fade, love could be reborn from the ruins of betrayal. Their reconciliation deepened as the inevitable day arrived when Vivien went into labor. rushed to the hospital amid anxious calls and hurried preparations. She found solace in Andrew's unwavering support. Amid whispered encouragement from the medical team and the rhythmic guidance of breathing exercises, Vivien summoned the strength to bring their child into the world. Finally, after moments that stretched into an eternity, a piercing cry announced the arrival of their baby girl. The doctor, smiling warmly, declared, "It's a healthy baby girl." Overwhelmed with relief and joy, Andrew kissed Vivien's forehead, and for a moment, the storm of past sorrows seemed to recede. In the days that followed, as Vivien recovered and adjusted to motherhood, the family gathered to celebrate the newborn, named Arya. Though Andrew's father Eddie still loomed in the background, his influence waning in the face of genuine familial love, the immediate focus was on healing and unity. In the warmth of their modest home, laughter slowly began to replace sorrow. Even as Eddie's men delivered a final reminder of his control, a trust fund contingent on Andrew's continued obedience, the love between Vivien, Andrew, and baby Arya proved too powerful to be overshadowed by old wounds. The journey had been long and painfully complex, a tapestry woven with passion, betrayal, scandal, and eventual redemption. Andrew's confession of his own manipulated past, the heavy cost of family ambition, and the resilience of Vivien's spirit all converged to create a future that, while scarred by history, shone with the promise of new beginnings. Standing together as a family, with baby Arya in their arms and a cautious hope in their hearts, Vivien and Andrew embraced the chance to rewrite their story. In that embrace, they found forgiveness, healing, and the enduring strength to face whatever challenges might still lie ahead.